super committee has officially failed, even though we got a couple more hours before whatever. What's your reaction to them being unable to come up with?
You know, hey, I'm not hand-wringing over this. I mean, they were sort of set up to fail in the sense that they were in even numbers, so you couldn't break a tie even in the group. And they're simply a microcosm of the rest of Congress. So I don't think expectations should have been high. I didn't have them set high. And I'm not worried about it because we have a decent backstop in that auto sequestration. So as long as those cuts occur, and that's where I think the fight's going to now go, the deal, and I thought it was a bad deal at the beginning of August, I voted against it, but at least the amounts agreed to in that otherwise bad deal are going to be upheld through auto sequestration.
I know that, I mean, there is that trigger to knock those things off. There's some Republicans saying that they're going to put legislation in that would get away with the trigger. Do you think that's going to happen? I mean,
maybe that's tried. I'm going to work my hardest against it. A deal's a deal, and even though they're complaining that it unfairly cuts into defense, look, defense is $700 billion with a B dollar a year operation. There is waste in it. Is it unfair since defense is only to cut 50% of it out of defense, even though it's only 20% of our federal outlay? Yes. Is it undoable? No. Is it unwarranted? No. There's waste there, and the general should be spending more time figuring out how to get those dollars to the warfighter by getting rid of the bureaucracy and the Pentagon.
Let's see, and then I guess, why can't Republicans and Democrats come up with some sort of solution? I mean, to me, outside observer, it seems like, you know what, let's throw a little bit more taxes on the millionaires and let's cut some of those programs. Why? I mean, to me, it just seems like it's a simple solution. If both people can get in a room and figure that out, why can't they do that?
Well, I mean, first of all, who's a millionaire? Is it someone who truly just makes $1 million a year? You know, they're already paying, the top half of us are paying 96% of the income taxes already. You know, and I don't defend millionaires, but, you know, the fact of the matter is, if they earn that money, that's their property. And if the top half of all of us are paying 96% of the tax already, on top of the fact that taxing more is not going to solve the debt problem. So at best, you'd be raising taxes just to throw someone a political bone. And I don't think that's academically honest. I don't think that's practically honest. Look, the only way you're going to get debt under control is to shrink the size and scope of government. These government programs are way beyond the sustainability. They're way beyond their means. And you will bankrupt these programs for the next generation who are already paying into them and who are yet to exist if you don't bankrupt the entire nation first. As I said tonight up here in Monticello, 66% of your federal spending are these programs. You cannot solve the debt problem without reforming them.
And my final question, and my response to that would be, it seems like every little bit helps. They were passed initially as a temporary tax cut, not a permanent thing, going back from 35, I mean, going up to, I said 39.5 from 35.
Oh, you're talking about the Bush tax cuts?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's not tax cuts on millionaires. You're switching unless I understood the question. You said you want to tax millionaires more. So I answered that question.
Letting that expire. I mean, isn't that part of it, is letting that
Oh, I take that as a separate issue. I mean, the Bush tax cuts are set to expire. Whether or not they were part of any super committee deal or negotiation, I don't know. But I do intend to address those or let them expire, well, you know, one way or the other as a separate measure. But I don't think anyone can seriously think that whether the quote-unquote Bush tax cuts, which, by the way, President Obama now has passed those. So the Bush-Obama tax cuts, at least, whether they stay in place or expire, I think is neither here nor there towards whether or not the debt of this country gets solved.
Does every little bit help, or is it?
Well, no, I think, yeah, sure. I mean, I think it would help, and I think letting a tax cut expire is different than raising taxes, new taxes. So I do appreciate the difference there. But, and sure, every little bit can help. I think the common ground on the tax issue, though, really should come in terms of the loopholes and the deductions that are there for some of us and some companies. As I said tonight, you heard that whole discussion, but not here for all of us. So let's clean that slate. Let's have an even playing field. Let's get rid of all deductions and all loopholes. and to the extent that would raise revenue, I would see that as common ground that we could agree on.
Heading back to Washington, what will happen next then with the super committee?
Well, super committee's done. The next thing is to fight to make sure at least that auto sequestration takes place, and so that'll be where the next fight goes. And because the debt problem was not solved by the super committee, it was not solved because we didn't pass a balanced budget amendment, it was not solved by the debt deal in August, the debt ceiling will come back to us, and the fiscal condition of this country will not escape us. And for people who really want to put their country before politics, who want their kids and grandkids to have the same kind of economic liberty that we've enjoyed, there's another chance to fight. Post office.
Oh, very last question. Is there any specific candidate in the Republican primary that we'd support presidential?
Yes, I've endorsed Mitt Romney, and as Secretary of State in 2008, I did the same, and because of that relationship, I support him again. I think the country really needs a businessman who has a record of turning operations and companies around. He did that with the Olympics, and he's done that with just about every company he's touched. And if you look at this federal government as a $3 trillion a year company, it needs the touches of a man like Mitt Romney.